All right, what's going on, everybody? We have another awesome interview for you guys here today. So, one of our clients, Beth from Live a Little Dog Training, is kind enough to be joining us today on the call, and she's going to be kind of just talking about her business and her experience working with us here at Top Dog Advertising. So, Beth, before we get started and kind of jump into all that stuff, do you mind just kind of giving yourself a quick introduction, telling everybody who you are, and yeah, just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am Beth Little. I am the owner and head trainer here at Live a Little Dog Training. It is a play on my last name. A friend of mine helped me come up with the name of it. Really, really great friend. I've been training dogs professionally for about 5 years. I've worked with some of the top training companies in the area before I decided to go off and branch on my own back in November. So my business is new, but I, as a trainer, am not new. Just new to being a business owner. Yeah, so I have a 4-year-old Doberman. He helped me get into dog training in general, more of the science of dog training. But I grew up with dogs, and yeah, so do a little sport work with my dog. So got into precision sport work before I got into pet training, and kind of fell in love with it after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so just so everybody knows, you come from the avid dog family tree, I guess you could say. We work with quite a few people. There's two people on this call right now. Angel, you come from that family tree as
I
well,
do. Yeah.
and yeah.
Absolutely.
So huge shout out to Jenny from Avid Dog, or formerly the owner of Avid Dog Training, now Angelica. But yeah, it's funny how that all happens, just because we've been connected with so many people from there, and it's really funny. Like, I don't know if you guys are sports fans, but like in like the NFL or the NBA and stuff, you'll see a lot of coaches that kind of were like assistant coaches almost for like a different team, and then they go and have all this success in a different place, and they may be like, they just kind of attribute it to that original place that they came from. And I kind of feel like that's you guys and everybody from Avid Dog. Like, that was such a good foundation for everybody, including for us, like at Top Dog Advertising, to have you, Angel, and Beth. You've started your own company, Angelica running it, Ali, and obviously Jenny's doing her own thing. So it's just really cool to see that. So do you mind just kind of talking about like your experience and like what you learned from working with Jenny at Avid Dog, and like what you were able to take from that and kind of go and, spin that into your own success?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met Jenny through sport. She also did IGP with her shepherd, and immediately when I met her, she was kind of a breath of fresh air. I think everyone kind of has that first impression of the dog world, and it can feel a little bit brisk. So you tend to gravitate towards the people who do the same thing as you do, who feel the same way, and even have like a measure of compassion with it too. And that was Jenny from the moment I met her. So I had worked for another company that was a completely different vibe. So when Jenny asked me to join her team, it was when that door opened up and I met Angel and Angelica, a couple of other people on her team who have now since moved on. But I've kept up with a lot of those connections, and still to this day, if I get stuck, I know I have a couple of resources to fall back on, for the dogs as well as the business. But what's great too is that I've developed some friends too, some really, really solid friends. Really, really, really glad to have that inside of the dog world. I don't feel like that's a little bit different. Um,
So cool.
so yeah, so working with Jenny though, she actually was the one that helped me pick the name of my company. Helped me set some things up as well, and I think it also kind of helped me as a business owner too. I just took on an intern, and I know that she wants to open up her own company eventually too. I want her to be able to branch off. I want her to feel like, hey, if you get stuck, I would love to be a resource for you too. So kind of like that passing it down, that kind of all started with Jenny. So yeah, definitely learned a lot from her, and I want to keep learning and take what she gave me and give it to other people.
Very cool. Yeah, and she's been on this podcast before, and I'm thinking about we'll probably have to do another episode with her soon. But yeah, I mean, I'll try not to make this whole podcast about Jenny, because we definitely want to talk about Neo, and I'm sure she'd be
Yeah,
happy
for
to hear
sure.
us saying such kind things. But I think the thing that's so interesting is like I've watched her build that company, Avidog, and now she's gone and started a new company in the San Antonio, Texas area, and she's already having so much success. And so I think that what we're really kind of getting at here is that if you understand like the basic principles of business and how to be a good dog trainer and deliver great client results, not only can you replicate that in different markets, but you can teach that to people and then they can go and replicate it in different markets. So all of this stuff that we're kind of talking about here is like, it really is just like a skill set. It's no different than dog training and somebody struggling with their dog's behavior and then they get plugged in with a really good trainer and they teach them and all of a sudden now they kind of understand fundamentally how to train dogs and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just really cool because once you learn the skill set of business and how to acquire clients, how to sell people, how to train dogs, deliver great results, that changes your life for forever. And you never really need to worry about sales or money or just success ever again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Angel, anything you want to add to this? Because I know Jenny is your best friend after all.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, and also like you guys said, like Beth is a dear friend of mine as well, so that makes it even more exciting having her on with us. But I do have a question. So you've been with us now with Top Dog for about 4 months. So I mean, I know how things have been going for you, but I wanted to see if you wouldn't mind sharing with everyone kind of like how things were before you started working with us, as far as like how you were obtaining clients. What was your experience with, putting your name out there and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I was a little bit of a crazy person and opened up my business around the holiday time. But I had enough resources around that when I got started, I felt like I was pretty confident about getting things off the ground, given the resources that I had. So I was with a different marketing agency, and it was a completely different experience. I probably closed maybe 2 or 3 sales from November to about May when I started with you guys. So what is that? About 6 months. I closed maybe two or three sales since starting with them. And when I was like asked about, hey, how are my campaigns going? Or hey, I'm noticing things. It was taking a long time for them to get back to me. Or if I would get an answer, it wasn't exactly the answer that I was. The question was prompting, if that makes any sense. So, and then when I stopped and like basically explained where I was and how much I was paying it, I had to figure out a different direction to go. So enter Top Dog, enter you guys. We started off on that sales call with Kevin, and again, like immediately felt the same sort of vibes that I got from Jenny, just a real person trying to help out real people who have small businesses and just don't have that information, or maybe have a slight bit of information but need some that filler, that gap to fill in to help them be successful. So I had great vibes from the start, and then kind of going into the onboarding process. It was relatively simple. I think we got everything up inside of like a week or two. I think I started getting calls the following week, and ever since then, it's just kind of been, my phone has been ringing off the hook. I went from closing 2 sales inside of 6 months to being almost completely booked. I was overbooked for one of my months, but completely booked for 3 months straight. So completely different experience with you guys compared to the last company I was with. I had a couple of things come up where, just developing your own personal CRM. There are things that personalizing it that you just have to adjust. So when I reached out to you guys and was just like, hey, can we make this adjustment? Or I'm noticing this. I think I got a call back, or at least a text message inside of that same day, maybe inside of a couple of hours. And then it was done and taken care of inside of like 24. So it's just been amazing. It's one less thing I have to worry about. Going from being a contractor trainer to a business owner is you just don't realize just how much goes into it. So I had to pivot pretty hard, and then my marketing agency not doing what paying them to do, which just added a whole layer of stress. So this was just kind of a for me where I don't have to worry about where my calls are coming from, how my campaigns are doing, when my updates are coming, all of that you guys are taking care of.
I appreciate all the kind words. I just want to ask you real quick, Beth. So,
Yeah.
so first and foremost, like, you know, when you came to work with us, like you had to take a little bit of a leap of faith because you had been told all this stuff before. Like all the stuff I was telling you was the stuff that you were kind of promised before that was kind of just never fulfilled, right? So
sure.
what was that like for you? Because I know there's going to be other people listening to this who have had other companies make big promises to them, and then just kind of not be able to have people to actually capitalize and fulfill those promises. So what was that like for you getting started? And I mean, what were the main things too, if you don't mind sharing that you just kind of noticed like the difference being between working with us and the last company that you were working with?
Well, when I got on the call with my last marketing agency, that's initial sales call, really, really good vibes off of the bat. But as soon as we changed from marketing to execution to meeting your team lead, that's when things started to fall apart. I felt like that's when I noticed things were like starting to crumble. So it like to your point where I was just like, I feel like I've been here before. Like I've
Yeah, yeah,
heard
yeah.
this story before.
Hmm.
So kind of talking to just some other trainers in the area too who have worked with you guys who have said, hey, no, this isn't the same experience. So I kind of had to take it point in time and give everyone the benefit of the doubt, especially since my last experience was just it was kind of the same, like where everything was great. It felt like it was perfect. It felt like it was going to be exactly what I was looking for. But then as soon as we changed from a sales call to like this is the product that you're actually getting, things that weren't exactly right. Whereas with you guys, it was like a seamless transition, and also like everyone was still involved. Everyone from the sales portion to the execution part was still involved. They didn't take a step back where you're their problem now.
Mm,
So everyone is kind of on the same page as like this is what we're pitching as to this is what you're actually getting.
for sure.
Um, yeah, yeah.
That's
So
awesome. I
I'm not
appreciate you sharing all that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure if that completely answered your
No,
question.
it did. I know Angel's got some other questions, so Angel, I want to hear from you as well. But I just want to say, like, you know, we're not perfect, and obviously no company is. But I'm glad you picked up on that because that's something we've put a lot of focus and attention on. Obviously, I'm the owner of the company. I still do all of the sales, right? And I was just talking to somebody that just signed up with us right before this call, and he's like, "I'm shocked that I'm even seeing you. Like, you're the one who's in all the marketing materials, and I thought you were just going to pass me off to somebody else." And what I always think about is just that it's also intertwined, and dog training businesses are like this as well. If you sell somebody and then, like you said, okay, this is this other person's problem now, see you later, they're just going to feel like this is like a bait and switch, and they lose trust just even from that one little thing. And then the problem is, as soon as one little thing goes wrong, it's just easy to start looking at this going like, whoa, this is not what I was sold whatsoever. So I think that's a really insightful thing that you brought up there. And I think that dog training business owners should take a lot away from that as well, which is, you know, if you have employees and you're just the sales guy and, you know, you're just like, okay, you're going to go talk to this trainer, don't ever talk to me again, it's not going to land well. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And I think also the weekly coaching calls too kind of help with that too, because we can bounce ideas off of each other, and we don't feel like the only time we're talking is when there's a problem,
Yeah.
or the only time that we're talking is when we're updating you on how great you're doing.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
about
yeah.
the in between? The in between that is the everyday. Okay, I do want to take on an intern. What do I do with that? I'm booked out 6, 10 weeks. How do I make sure that I'm not stretching myself thin? All of those things are kind of part of the marketing and sales part, but in my initial experience, I missed that. I missed the in between. I missed that kind of tender loving care.
Yes.
So I genuinely enjoyed that, and I appreciate the time and attention that you guys put into that because it makes me feel like I am not just kind of like left with my hands up, like what do I do now?
Yeah, yeah. And I just think, I guess what I would say about that too is that customer service sometimes isn't even about the facts of like what you're doing and what the client is doing or not doing. It really, so much of it boils down to is how you make them feel. And if people feel like they feel understood and listened to and that you're plugged in and you care, that goes so much further than just saying like, hey, these are our deliverables. We executed on all this. And if you're not happy, like I told you what you were going to get or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
everything in business all just kind of boils down to like how you make your clients feel. People don't leave you because you're not a good enough trainer for the most part. People may leave you just because they feel like, oh, that other company over there is doing some really cool stuff, and I feel like I'd really like to be a part of that pack walk, or I'd really like to be able to do that daycare program, or whatever it may be, you know? It's all about feeling and emotion. Very rarely does it actually boil down to like logic and for us, you know, the exact return on the investment and what our click-through rate is versus our competitors or the conversion rate and stuff like that. All that stuff matters and is added to the equation, but for the most part it just boils down to, you know, how people feel and, you know, do they feel loved and cared after and stuff like that. So with that being said, like Angel, why don't you kind of chime on that, because I know like that is your specialty. That's exactly what you handle. You know, you're the director of client success. So like, what are your thoughts on that and kind of just how people can kind of, you know, really implement stuff like that in their business?
Yeah, I mean, going off of that specifically for Beth, I'm really interested to hear like what the big shift was for you. Obviously, you had like more calls coming in so that way you could close people, right? And then, like you mentioned, the group coaching calls, the one-on-one coaching, and just like general check-ins, like us genuinely caring about how things are going. But I want to hear more so from like a mindset perspective what that big shift was for you, because I specifically remember a few different conversations you and I have had about like one of the things I think you just mentioned is like, okay, I'm booked out, but how can I make sure I'm not spreading myself too thin? How can I make sure my schedule is, you know, how can I make sure I'm even getting a lunch and stuff like that? And there was another conversation you and I had. I think it was more so in the beginning when you were kind of getting into that routine of being used to the calls coming in as much as they were. You mentioned that there was a phone call or maybe a few phone calls that you had with potential clients, and you're like, I feel like I was pushing too hard. Like I didn't even try getting them in for or like scheduling a consult. I was pushing too hard. I was almost seeming too desperate. And after that, there was a change. There was a big change, and you were closing and closing and closing. So for you, have you come to that realization of like what that mindset shift has been for you?
Um, a little bit, and some of that has come from those like coaching calls, and listening to everyone. I'm one person. I am the social media person. I am the trainer. I am the salesperson. So my time is very very valuable, and in that I have to have my hands in a lot of different pots. So if I'm going to take on something, I have to make sure that I'm able to show up for anyone in any given space, no matter what hat I'm wearing. So if I'm wearing the business owner hat, I need to be able to have the time and attention to give to whoever I'm speaking to as a business owner. If I am the salesperson, then I have to be able to make sure I'm showing up 100% in that space, or social media, or the dog that is in front of me, the person, the dog, the leash that I have in my hand. So because of that, I couldn't just willy nilly it. I can't just be like, okay, it's 9 o'clock. I guess I'm just going to go for a walk now. Or it's 6 o'clock and I still haven't eaten today, so I guess I'm going to stop and eat. I had to be much more intentional about my time and where it was going, so that if I had an hour blocked off to reply to a client, then that's my hour. If I have an hour between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, or 1:30 to eat lunch and like actually kind of decompress from the morning, then that is my specific hour. I'll give you a call back. Um, that makes it so that my time when I'm not constantly running around, I don't have to worry about constantly running around because I have time booked off. So one of the suggestions that I had gotten from you guys, or the coaching call, was get yourself a planner, a productivity planner. And then my sales calls also changed as well because I was thinking a little bit more about, okay, if I'm driving out an hour to my evaluation, it's about an hour evaluation and an hour back. I've wasted my entire morning and none of my dogs have gotten reps. So I have to be much more intentional about where I take my clients for the benefit of the clients and the benefit of the dogs that I have in. So it was just a big mindset shift in knowing that I'm one person. I can't say yes to everyone. So some of the way that I talk to my specific clients, I'm just like, hey, listen, I don't want to take your money. It does nothing for me or nothing for you if we're both not getting what we need and you're not getting out of it what you need from it. And I feel like a lot of people respect that, how upfront I am about it. And they're just like, no problem. And as soon as I go out and I meet them and they get some face-to-face time with me, I feel like it helps them. And I've been able to close a little bit more sales too, because kind of like we were talking about, Kevin, how people feel, it makes them feel a little bit more at ease,
For
that
sure.
I'm not taking your money and running.
100%. Yeah. And I remember one of the coaching calls, you asking that exact question or us talking about this exact topic, which is, I feel like I'm not getting time to even get lunch, like, or eat lunch. And kind of like a funny thing to even say, but not so funny when you realize it's actually your reality. And I've been there many times myself where I've found, either I don't eat lunch at all, or I'm walking downstairs and just grabbing whatever garbage I can that of processed food, or quick thing out of the fridge. And I know I've really kind of messed up when I don't even have time to sit down, like when I'm like eating like a whatever it may be, like leftovers, like well, hunched over like the table, not even sitting down, or over the sink or something like that. It's like, dude,
Guilty.
what are you doing? Like, you're not an animal, like, you're a human being, you're deserving of like 20 minutes to eat lunch. So I think that's just that was a really interesting thing. And I remember kind of us talking about this, and the advice I always give to everybody is block that time out to do that stuff every single day. Block the time out on your calendar to go for that walk that you really want to go for, or go and work out, or go spend time with your friends or family. There's a saying that I always think about, which is discipline equals freedom. A lot of us like to think that like being undisciplined and just having like the term you use, like being all willy-nilly and just kind of being like, oh, the day comes at me and isn't this great? Like, I only have these things on my calendar, and other than that, I'm free to do whatever I want. But if you don't take control of your calendar and your time, and you're not intentional with it, it takes control of you. And so I think that like time blocking is the most powerful thing you can do. And magically, as soon as you start doing that, you start finding more time available on the calendar because you actually know what you're looking at. It's very easy to be like, oh, I have this time block open in the middle of the day and it's 2 hours and I'm gonna go work out that. Unless you put it on the calendar, that time will just get filled with something else. A client calls you and takes up 45 minutes of your time, or something happens with the dog, and well, I don't have time to go to the gym now, so now I'm just going to go work this dog and do the lesson or the session with them now. And before you know it, that 2 hour time block is gone, and you never do what you actually want to do. The last thing I'll say about this is one of the best pieces of business advice I got on this is it's easy to look at your business in a vacuum and say, if I'm not doing things that are directly connected to the business, like if I'm not creating social media content, if I'm not on sales calls, if I'm not training dogs, if I'm not doing my accounting work or whatever it is, then I'm wasting my time and I'm not actually efficiently using my time in the business. But what I've realized is by doing these other things with my life, actually taking time to like go spend some time in the sun, even though I know it doesn't look like I spend any time in the sun. But if you actually spend some time to go get out in the sun, go for a walk, eat a good lunch, sit down and read a book, it's all a business play. All of it makes you more efficient in business. You feel better. Your judgment is less clouded. You're happier. All of this stuff, and that all translates into business, and you just kind of doing better overall.
So I want to point out one more thing that you mentioned earlier with the different hats that you wear in your business and how intentional you are with it. So for example, like when you are in a consultation and you're trying to make a sale, you're the salesperson. That's a hat that you're wearing and that's what you focus on. And I really like to hear you say that because I think for you, it just shows like that you have that kind of accountability for yourself and your responsibilities within your business. But the reason why I point that out is because I feel like oftentimes, and a lot of the clients that we work with do have businesses where it's just a one-man show or one-woman show. And what people can sometimes do is, if it is a slow week for them, whether it's, it's slower with scheduling consultations or slower with making sales or, people not answering the phone or whatever it is, sometimes people can be so quick to try to like put the fault on something. Like, I'm getting a lot of bad leads. Like, people just aren't interested. People just want free advice. People like, no one's serious about training anymore, or, no one has money or whatever it is. And all of those can be true reasons. But I feel like people often just try to find something to put the fault on instead of thinking to themselves like, okay, I really have not been taking care of myself this month. I have been struggling with getting back to people. I have not been following up with people, or, maybe they've been their mood has been a little off, and every time they get a call, they're so quick to try to get off the phone. Maybe that's why people aren't wanting to schedule consultations. And so I feel like you really have to have the accountability. You have to be confident in your processes and truly be able to say, like, I did everything I could. I've been answering all the phone calls. I've been following up with people like crazy. I am great at sales. The reality is I may not sell every single person that I meet with, but I know and I'm confident that I did everything that I was supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think part of that is because like I know I'm still learning. I've been a business owner for less than a year, so there's no possible way that I can say I did every sales call right.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe didn't have the right follow up with this particular client. Maybe I could have adjusted certain things. So part of like kind of picking up a mirror and looking at where I am point in time, picking out those imperfections, recognizing like, hey, I could have done better here, and then moving on. That's not a bad thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes people can think like, oh, I need to have all the answers because I am the business owner. No,
Yeah.
I'm okay with not knowing, or I'm okay with like learning as I go. And that's also part of dog training too. Dog training evolves over time.
Mm-hmm.
Point in time, you kind of have to pick up your own training style and say, hey, where are the gaps here? And then continue learning. So like I'm grateful, like for you guys, the way that you set up your calls and everything. I'm just gonna keep at it and keep adjusting so I can make my business more successful as I go.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like having that self-reflection and the ability to like say all of those things, and also most importantly, being so open-minded to like the calls that you and I have, like, what can I do to make this better, to make this process better? What can I do to make myself feel better when I'm in a time where I am so busy, which is a good thing, but you also have to focus on yourself and your own well-being. So I think those are the most important qualities to have, and that you have as a business owner. So that's what's inevitably going to continue making you more successful.
But I just want to say this too, like something you just said, I think is extremely insightful, which is sometimes people think they're supposed to know everything because they're the business owner, and there's something to the idea of fake it till you make it. But I think there's something really powerful in the idea too of just acknowledging like, I don't know. There's a really powerful thing, because at the end of the day, if you don't know and you pretend like you do, that's how you get yourself in a lot of trouble. And so the people that I see that do the best when they come to work with us are people who are like open-minded, and they're just like, hey, is there a better way to do this? You know, instead of like, no, this is just the way that I do it and it's not working, but I just got to get more leads. And if I just got more leads, that would fix the problem.
Yeah.
You got to have a good sales process. You got to have a good, other marketing in your company outside of just Google ads. Like you got to have good systems and processes to deliver good client results. So I think what you just said is very true. And what it makes me kind of think of is, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing is really what it comes down to. And as soon as you start thinking that you know everything, you're going to do way more damage with that belief system than you are with the belief system of I don't know and I'm going to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just I don't know. It's I don't know, but I have every intention on finding out.
Right. Yeah. So that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that because that's sometimes stuff that people don't want to admit, but I think it's a really powerful thing to admit that. And I always say this with any new coaching program that I go into, my coach, one of the first things I tell everybody is like, I would rather you eviscerate me and tell me that I suck at this and what I'm doing is really bad, because that way at least I know and I can make it better. Instead of like me going in there and talking and telling this coach who's making $1 million a month, what I do and what we do here and why we're so great and stuff like that. It's like, dude, nobody cares, man. Just like either take the information that is helpful and applied in your business, or just keep doing it yourself and stay stuck.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even be reaching out unless you needed some help anyway. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to have your ears open and your mouth closed a little bit. So
Yeah, exactly. And what I always think about with coaching, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I don't need coaching. I think I've said this on past episodes, but it's worth repeating. Tiger Woods had and has a swing coach. Michael Jordan had a shooting coach. Everybody has a coach. Like Barack Obama had a speechwriter, had like a coach to help him, like, how do I get my point across more clearly? Every president has had that. Look at anybody, and you even look at somebody like I always talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger, just because I feel like he's like the epitome of like the American dream. And when he was interviewed, I was reading one of his books, and he was like, I'm not self-made. A lot of people look at him and go like, Arnold, you're self-made. How'd you do it? And he's like, I'm not self-made. There's all these people along the way who have like helped me, who have helped me like become Mr. Olympia, get into acting, become the governor. He's like, I didn't do all that stuff on my own. So this narrative that like you need to figure it out yourself, and even worse, that you can't afford the help, is really just, it's a bad way to look at things, because if you invest in the right people and the right team around you, you will receive your investment back tenfold most of the time.
yeah.
Yeah. So listen, with that being said, I mean, I know you don't have all day to hang out with us. So I guess what I would like to ask you is just kind of finishing up with this. So, what I always like to ask is put yourself back in the shoes that you were in 6 months ago before you got started with us. And obviously you were struggling, dealing with inconsistency, kind of getting the runaround with your marketing and stuff like that. So if somebody's in that situation now, what is the advice that you would give to that person to kind of help them like break free and start kind of like achieving the success you've been able to?
You and your business are worth asking more questions. And if you aren't getting the answers that you deserve, then it's worth it for you to find answers someplace else.
Yeah.
So I feel like that might be a generational thing. Some people they've kind of learned like I'll just accept the fries that I didn't order. You didn't order fries. You paid for what you paid for, but you're getting fries. So you have to be able to speak up, not tear the room down, but say, "Hey, this isn't exactly what I was asking for, and here's why it's a problem."
Yeah.
And if you still aren't getting the right answer to that, or an answer that gives your business the boost that it needs, then start asking questions in a different room. There's always someone who can help. So don't get stuck in a mindset just because you're just like, well, this is what was working for me for so long. You got to pivot. You have to. You're worth it. Your business is worth it. So I'd say like that would be my advice to myself going back. Also, kind of the fake it till you make it thing. Like sometimes I was getting on my calls and feeling so desperate that it was coming off as desperate, as opposed to like displaying the confidence that no, I love what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I want to be able to do it for you. That sounds a lot different than, but I can get you in next week, and I'll take $100 off, and it's different, and people are going to receive it different. And I get like with the panic, it kind of naturally happens that way. But be proud of what you do. I think that would have helped me out maybe 6 months ago.
Really well said. Well, I mean, I appreciate you like putting your trust in us, and I think it was definitely, very helpful to get you started with, having Angel on our team and already having all that trust in like friendship built there and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you just made some really good points. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to make a change. You're not stuck. I think a lot of times people are so anxious in life, and the only thing that's a cure to anxiety is taking action and making a change. As soon as you make a change and you take action in your life, all of a sudden, a lot of that anxiety subsides. If you don't mind me asking, like, what was your revenue the first like 30 days of us working together, or even like one of the better months that you've had since?
Oh, okay. So I want to say I closed four puppy programs and a couple of lessons clients. So I want to say it was probably between like 12 and 14 grand was one month. Does that sound
Wow.
right, Angel? Like that? I think that's what I had texted you.
I
It sounds right.
I was gonna say,
Something like that.
yeah, I was gonna say somewhere between 12 and 14 is what I remember.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was just
incredible.
me taking three dogs at a time with how I was priced, and then a couple of lessons programs. I was able to close about 12 to 14.
So cool. Yeah, and I just want to add this in too. You are like the prime example of a really, really good dog trainer, a really talented business owner, and just great person overall. And you just weren't being given the opportunity. And I come across that all the time. I talk to people, and I'm like, you have all these accolades in training, and you have all these like letters after your name and stuff like that, and you're clearly a really good trainer. And I'm having a great conversation with you. Like, I could talk to you for hours, but for some reason you're really staying stuck in the mud here just because you're not getting the opportunity. And unfortunately, sometimes you can get plugged in with a situation that they make promises and it doesn't work out and stuff like that for you. But that's something that I always just kind of think about. It's like there's a lot of people in life who just never take that shot on goal. They never make the change because like the uncomfortability of the unknown, stepping out into the unknown and making a change is like almost scarier than staying stuck in the current situation that you actively know isn't even working, which is a really weird thing. But our minds as human beings are designed to keep us safe, not to make us happy.
Yeah.
Like it's like all about safety. That's like your reptilian brain is like going off and it's like, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe.
Yeah.
You have some money. Yeah, this isn't working, but maybe if I hold on to this thing, it'll eventually change and the tides will turn and stuff like that. So this is
I
just
think
kind of a
it's
call to action. I just want to say this real quick, and then I'd love to
yeah,
hear your
yeah.
thoughts on this. This is just kind of a call to action to anybody who's listening to this, that if you feel like you have great upside, you feel like you have all this potential that's not being tapped into, book a call with our team. Like, there's nothing for you to lose. It's going to be with me, more than likely, and I'm not going to try and hard sell you something that you don't actually need. So I think, Beth, you could probably testify to that. That's like, we try and find ways to help people get started with us all the time. And I mean, you're a testament to this, that like when you were given the appropriate opportunity, you just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What I was going to say is, I think there's a quote that's going around social media. Sometimes they have really good ones. That comfort culture is making people soft. So when are able to maybe not feel so comfortable in a certain room so that we can grow into the room, or step out of our comfort zone in order to grow ourselves or our business or the people around us. But people get so like, no, I need to feel comfortable here. But they close themselves in these tiny little boxes. So like, I guess that would be definitely my recommendation as well, is to step outside of your comfort zone and see how much like you can thrive and grow into rooms that maybe you don't feel comfortable in, but you have every capability of growing and thriving in that room.
So cool. I love that. It's really well said. Angel, anything else you want to add to that?
No, that was it. I just really appreciate you joining us today. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Beth, this was awesome. We'll have to do it again in the future.
Sounds good.
And hopefully by then, like, we'll have our technology sorted out. So I appreciate you coming on for today, and hang out for a second after I end the call here. I just want to chat with you for a second. But as always, I mean, I hope you guys are getting some value out of watching these calls. We're going to try and start having more awesome trainers just like Beth coming on more consistently to kind of share their experience and just talk about what it's like running a business and how they've been able to grow and stuff like that. So as always, we appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you guys all very soon in the next one. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.